Hello, my friends. How are you? So today I return to a subject which is very close to my heart because fundamentally I'm trained as a scientist, you might say, physician scientist. I took courses in biology, physics, chemistry, biophysics, mathematics in pre-med, and then, of course, 5 years medical school, and then 3 years residency, and then 2 years fellowship in endocrinology and neuroendocrinology. So I'm very passionate about science. But as you know, I'm also a spiritual aspirant, and I try to bring the two together. And sometimes it's frustrating because the approaches to understanding reality are very different in both science, and they're very different from spirituality. So science is always asking, what is the world like? How does it work? How does the human body work? How does the brain work? And spirituality says, well, who's asking? Who wants to know? Does the brain want to know how the brain works? A physical object? Does the body, which is part of the mind, want to know how the body works? So, who or what is asking the question and why? So, as you know, the scientific model is very, very successful. Everything we do is based on the scientific model in today's age. I was reading somewhere that between 1887 and 1906, four things happened that changed the world entirely. Between 1886 and 1906, how many years is that? 84, 20 years. Okay, 15, 20 years, the world changed. In those years, the light bulb was invented. The automobile came into existence. The airplane came into existence. And the telephone came into existence. Before 1886, none of that. So if you were born in, say, 1910, you would have entered a world that would have been unrecognizable to somebody who had passed away in 1886. The human race had leapfrogged into everything that we today call the scientific age, the industrial age. So, don't deny the success of science. I'm using science right now to speak to you through this Zoom recording, and you're using science to experience what I'm saying, probably on a handheld device or a cell phone or computer whatsoever. We travel the world on jet planes. We use the internet. We use technology in everything that we do every day. So do not deny the success of the scientific model, but then do not trust it to reveal the truth about reality. Because I will summarize all the problems on science. Number one is subject-object split. Science assumes that there is a subject and object split. I'm the scientist, and this is the world. I'm the observer, and this is the world. As it's obvious, subject and object are both the movements of the cosmos. And so the subject-object split, while useful for doing scientific experiments, is artificial. Number two, the whole idea of naive realism. Naive realism posits subject-object split, which I just spoke to you about. Matter is the ontological principle of the universe. Matter is the starting point of the universe. And then explaining mind as made by matter, which is called the hard problem of consciousness. and no one has been able to do that. Number three, the idea that what we call the objective world is the human appearance of it. And we know that our human nervous system is limited, our capacity for knowing reality is limited, our perceptions are limited. They access as a narrow band of bandwidth of electromagnetic activity or the electromagnetic spectrum. And we also know that our senses do not reveal the truth. The world appears flat, but it's not. The ground I'm sitting on seems stationary, but it's spinning at dizzying speeds and hurtling through space at thousands of miles an hour. You are solid, I'm solid. Objects exist independently of observers in the theater of space-time and causality. And all this would appear just as it does to us human beings, even if all human beings disappeared from the face of the earth. The universe would have the human look of it. And as you know, there are other species that have different kinds of sensory apparatus that actually give them a completely different experience of what we call the objective world. So many, many problems, and many, many problems. I want to address the problems as we understand them in biology now. And that is the new science of epigenetics, which says that genes are affected by their environment. The genes are affected by their environment. Gene activity is affected by its environment. Physical environment, emotional environment, psychological environment, all modulates the activity of the genes. And so your body is a biological organism. And then there's something called a biosphere, the universe, our planet, which is the environment. And so genes are separate from epigenes, the biological organism, and the environment are two different things. And that goes back to the subject-object split. So then if you want to know the reality, then we have to go deeper and deeper from the gross level of existence, the physicalist level of existence, which is what we call matter, into more subtle realms, which we call mind, intellect, and ego, which is called the subtle body. And then we have to go beyond the mind to that place, which is pure knowing, pure consciousness, pure homeostasis. And at that level, there's minimum entropy, there is spontaneous joy, spontaneous creativity, what I previously called Icha Shakti, spontaneous fulfillment of desire, Kriya Shakti, spontaneous right action, and Gyan Shakti, spontaneous right knowing, pure knowing. And that's what spirituality is. Spirituality is the realm of awareness as timeless now. And no science can give us that understanding. No science. Only knowing yourself can you give you that experience. So right now, everywhere I go, conferences on happiness and the pandemic of depression, etc., happiness formula, which I've shared with you. But now I want to tell you something which I have discovered after all these years, is that I've never met somebody who's truly happy. Okay. If they have all the things they want, they're worried that soon they will maybe not have all the things they want. They're worried that their success may not last, their money may not last, their relationship may not last. So if they don't have anything, then they think having something will make them happy. But then having something doesn't make them happy. I've never met a truly happy person. Joyous, yes. Innocent joy, yes, especially in babies. and children. But then, as soon as they start becoming defensive about their ego and play control dramas and start to need validation, how many selfies on the social network or whatever, then that joy is gone. So they never have happiness because they think it's around the corner. So the crisis that I see in the world is not a mental health crisis, it's a spiritual crisis. Everyone's running away from themselves. And the only joy and the only happiness you can ever have will never be dependent on a relationship or a money or status or power or whatever it is that you think will make you happy. Never. Only knowing your deepest self, pure consciousness in the eternal now, which is beyond all birth and death, beyond all transitions, beyond all temporal identities. Only that spiritual awakening will make you joyous and happy. And science is not going to help you there. Know yourself. Spirituality is one word: self awareness. Of course, that means awareness of the body, awareness of the mind, but means much, much more than that. It means awareness of the self, independent of its fluctuations in time, which we call body, mind, and the physical universe. So I hope this helps. Okay. And in the meanwhile, a reminder, digital Dharma is available, how AI can elevate spiritual intelligence and personal well-being. And you can continue this conversation with my digital twin, digitaldeepak.ai. Okay. Be joyful and God bless.